Okay, so this is the project. Take two.
Yes.
20 seconds in. You are.
I'm Cory. I'm one of the elders at Riverview Baptist Church. We're in Greenville. That's a Southern Baptist church. I think I just said that. And I also host a podcast called the Cory Truax Show. I'm also husband to Nicole and dog owner to 5.
I am Cody Fields. I own Westminster Effects. Go buy stuff for your guitar at westminstereffects.com. I'm a deacon here at Resurrection Church where we are recording. I am husband to Kristen and dog owner of 2. However, mine outweigh yours.
I was going to say, what is your total tonnage?
It's over 200 pounds at this point.
And for hour 5, it's less than 90 pounds.
Yeah, which,
Tiny dogs.
man, I'm about to get the younger one, who is, a year and 3 months at this point. I'm about to get him fitted for a saddle and a bit and just ride him around.
You know what? We're in a day and age where no one will resent you for it. I'm
That's
not going to
true.
laugh at you.
That's very true. So, as we are wont to do, every now and then we get together and we talk about effectively postmillennialism and things connected to that. And we hash out ideas and whatnot.
Yeah, because we both came to that eschatological conclusion
in
middle age, you a couple years before I did. And I have, in the last almost 3 years now, have been compelled by the arguments, got into the post-mill world uncomfortably. And so this has been a good processing place for me, because I want to be about the business of kingdom keeping, kingdom establishing, so keeping what we've already won, winning more things, and then seeing other people go through their projects. And sometimes I have resentments, and I have ideas, and so do you. And so this is the space in which we work through all that.
Yeah. So connected to that with postmillennial X.
Yes. Okay. Oh boy.
Because that's a different place than the real world.
Yes.
A lot of times this gets connected to kind of a far right Christian nationalism.
That's right.
Not simply a Moscow mood. Who's the guy that I'm thinking of? But not obviously I know the guys in Moscow, but I'm thinking of like the 60s conservative movement.
Oh, like Falwell?
Not Falwell, but the guy who established the magazine.
Dobson.
Not Dobson.
Not even that guy.
Was it National Review?
Oh, William Buckley?
Yes.
Buckley.
That's what I was trying to think of.
I'll keep naming conservative. We're in my wheelhouse.
Right, exactly.
The history of conservatism?
So that the way I see those guys is more of a traditional Christian conservative in the line of whether it's Buckley or Burkean conservative.
Yes, Edmund Burke is who he's talking about.
That kind of thing, as opposed to where we've gotten into some extreme right-wing views in some corners of the internet.
More John Birchian, if you're going through that same history.
Yeah.
Oh, that same era, Buckley versus Birch.
Right, and so I've learned about this concept the last couple of years of horseshoe theory.
Yes.
I think you would do a better job explaining what horseshoe theory is than I could.
I will. I'll give you one fun example. Example is usually the best way to learn. Is that ideologies, if you don't think about them linearly, start imagining a horseshoe, that far, far left part of the horseshoe and far, far right part of the horseshoe will come to the same conclusions. My favorite example of this is those on the far right, like white nationalists, think the most important thing about you is your ethnicity. And the far left wokest think the most important thing about you is your ethnicity. They both think it, they just have different values around it.
Right. And so that's come around more recently in the Trump administration of things like command economies.
Yes.
And stuff like that of we are going to tell you how much you can charge for this.
Yes.
Or we are going to tell you what kind of jobs we need, where the government is not competent. Us being more traditional conservatives, the government is not competent to make those calls.
Yeah, what is rent control and some regulations about where you can build housing for Mamdani, I think his name is, the guy running
Zoran Mamdani,
in New York, becomes the government's going to buy a piece of Intel and take some of their chip money because we think we need to make a certain type of computer chip.
Yeah.
It's still command and control of economies through governments.
Yes. And so I have a horseshoe theory that I've been chewing on.
Cannot wait.
And I haven't told you what it is yet.
Yes.
I have run it by a couple of people, and they're like, I think you're onto something.
There's an entire genre of TikTok, YouTube videos that are live reacts. And usually it's people listening to someone sing or, play an instrument. So this is live reaction, Cody Horseshoe Theory.
So, the last several years, I have begun to enjoy Michael Crichton novels. So, techno thriller
Yes, I know this guy.
fiction author. Okay. He died several years ago, if I remember correctly. But he's the guy who created Jurassic Park.
Yes.
I've also read The Andromeda Strain, and I recently just listened through the Audible version of State of Fear. Are you familiar with this book at all?
Not.
So, State of Fear is effectively a techno thriller on environmental terrorism.
Okay.
So, the far left group that is all about climate change and global warming and whatever, they're so married to their position that they're going to create earthquakes and icebergs falling off into the sea and stuff like that to coincide with a conference that they're putting on.
So where you hear on the internet some conspiracy theory type things around weather control, the events, that this is weather control.
Right.
But
they're actually trying to do that.
Okay.
Right. So that's kind of the premise, is this is what's going on with this environmental group. However, toward the end of the book, it's effectively this high-level special forces police officer, his deputy, the lawyer who has been representing this guy who is now died, and the guy who died's assistant, going to this remote Pacific island to prevent this tsunami earthquake thing, along with the guy who basically inserts himself into all of these decisions, is an actor who is attached to this environmental group.
Okay.
And this guy has, previously played the president of the United States in a series.
Okay.
He thinks he's a big deal. He thinks he knows exactly what he's talking about. And it's the quintessential Hollywood actor who it's, this stuff is great for me to use, but
not for the masses, not
for
you.
the masses. And particularly when they get...
I'm special.
Right. And particularly when they get to this island, he's talking about how pristine it is and how it needs to be preserved exactly the way it is. And the way of life of these people is just so much more pristine.
Right.
Well, eventually he gets cannibalized alive.
Saw that coming.
Like they are cutting pieces off of his body and he's watching them digest them.
Okay, Michael Crichton's got some real issues.
Yeah, real issues.
Ooh.
And obviously he dies.
Yes.
But so within the climate change, hard environmentalist left, we have to preserve this piece of forest or this coral reef or whatever. And one of the arguments within the book is you can't preserve it because it's living.
Yes.
Ergo, you can manage it.
Sure.
But you can't keep it the way it is. Doesn't matter if it's the redwoods or the desert or whatever.
Yes.
It's a living thing.
Yes.
It's an ecosystem. On the Horseshoe Theory right, I'm seeing that with small towns. We have to preserve our way of life from all these people moving in. So whether it's Facebook groups so I live in Greer, South Carolina. I'm sure you've seen the same thing about your neighborhood of Easley.
Yes, yeah.
Is our areas have exploded in population recently, especially since 2020 and the virus, which must remain nameless. But what you have is people saying, no, I want to preserve this town exactly the way it is, and I don't want any change. And you can't preserve it. I think you can manage it. You can maybe manage the growth, maybe say we shouldn't grow as quickly as we are. Maybe we don't need that 5-story high-rise apartment complex. Maybe we need some smaller single-family homes or something like that. But you can't just preserve the way that you think that it was in 1985.
I love this theory, and I'm now just working it out as I go. So sharpen me where I become dull.
Okay.
I think so. The left wing version of that in environmentalism, they have the value that the way the thing is inherently good,
and that's the way it has to remain.
Because it is good, it can only be good in this state.
Yes.
The Horseshoe version is my town, the way it is with this hardware store, these restaurants,
Yep.
this group of people and the kids that they're having. This is good, and for it to remain good, it must stay.
Yes.
And so we have both the bases, and then that second portion that I find so compelling is the idea of human sovereignty over the system.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't have control over the forests out west. I know that I can manage them. There's going to be some wildfires. I
Right.
can diminish them by doing some controlled burning. I can try to help the I guess that's called the life cycle or the food pyramid by introducing various predators and taking out types of prey. I can manage it, but it's going to do what it's going to do.
And that's one of the arguments made in Crichton's book is, the natives, when they went out west, they didn't just leave it. They didn't just respect it. They did controlled burns,
Yes.
even a couple thousand years ago.
Yeah.
And it wasn't this hands-off, don't touch it at all approach. And they did the same thing,
Yeah.
introducing predators or culling them or whatever.
We could have a discussion on whether or not this is a government role. I would argue this is one of the few things government should do. But the states having their own departments of natural resources, that was their purpose.
Right.
We're just going to manage the land. It's the land that we all own together because it's no person's bought the property. And so it was food chain management
Yeah.
and it was land management. That's what those offices did.
Yep.
All right. So now I take it over to the right and I take these concepts and say, this place where I live easily is going to change.
Yep.
There's no laws about moving here from Charleston or moving here from Nashville or Knoxville or Raleigh. People are going to come in.
Yep.
So now I just need to manage it the same way I would the land. I think this is exactly right. And I try to think in terms of core idols. The core idols being the way the creation is right now is the best way for it to be, and it should never change. The way that my life is and my lifestyle is good. It shouldn't ever have to have any change. And so I've got to maintain it for me and my kids. Limiting principle. I think I put my limiting principle here about ideology. I would say of easily, though. It can grow. I wouldn't mind it growing.
Yeah.
Hey, but if you come here, there's some things we think.
Right.
And
Right.
this you should respect. I'm not telling you shouldn't come here and things shouldn't change, but we built something here. Certain ideas and certain values built something here. Can I give you a quote and I'm going to stop talking?
Okay.
I found this. I'll stop talking for a second because I've been going for like 10 minutes. I'm sorry about that. I found this recently from T.S. Eliot. You ever read a quote that just haunts you? He talked about walking through this cemetery. It's a graveyard when it's attached to a church, a cemetery when it's not attached. Walking through the cemetery and just thinking, almost everyone I know here in Britain came from one of you. The roads that I ride on, the precursors of those roads, some of you dug them. A lot of you built the buildings, and no one ever visits your tombs. And you did these monumental things that were so normal for you, but they were monumental in the end, and no one cares that you did them. So, but what he's building here is the folks that came before us built Greer. The folks that came before us built Easley. It has certain values and ideas, and we want to preserve those while it changes.
Right. So this would be akin to, just keeping on the train of thought, no one is saying with the Sequoia National Forest, is that the proper term?
Yes.
I think. No one is saying that we should introduce jaguars
They don't belong
to
there.
help control the deer population
Yes.
there. If you introduce something, it has to make some kind of sense to the natural surroundings,
Yeah.
natural habitat. And so you do need disruptions of that system sometimes. You do need to introduce a couple more coyotes,
Yes,
or a
you
couple
do.
more wolves. Sometimes you have to remove the wolves.
Yes.
And so that comes into management where, yes, that's disruptive, but it's disruptive in the sense that gets it to where that thing is healthier.
More sustainable.
Right.
Yes.
And so whether that's textile mills closing, factories closing, or new factories coming in, like with Greer and BMW 35 years ago,
Yes.
which has been enormous for the entire area.
Game
The
changer.
entire upstate of South Carolina has benefited dramatically
Yes.
from that one plant
Yes.
of German,
Yeah.
of a foreign company investing in here.
I mean, just here in Greer, people here in Greer is the hashtag.
Yeah.
Right behind there's a Fuddruckers here in Greer. Right behind it is a Mitsubishi.
There's a former Fuddruckers.
Really? Is it gone?
Yep.
That's so sad.
It is.
It's a great place to get a burger.
The only reason I went there was for the cheese sauce, but
Oh, so good. Behind that is a Mitsubishi. They make plastic.
Yep.
It employs like 10 people in my church. Talk about taking the land. We have taken the land of Mitsubishi in some real ways.
yeah.
But it was a Japanese company. I believe it's Japanese. They came in and changed the ecology of our economy in some ways, and it was good. We can argue about how to do it. I'll give you the example. You just mentioned factories. Yes, Greenville used to be a textile place. I can tell you the stories of some people I know in my personal life who once worked in textiles, and that person trained the person in Mexico that would do their job the next month,
Yep.
and they lost that job.
Yep.
Now, there's some trade-offs we made. We got a lot of stuff cheaper. Our dollars went further.
Significantly cheaper.
Yeah, we did. Now, I'm very patient with those that would argue, well, I would rather have the textile jobs and more expensive stuff. I'm very patient with it. I tend to disagree, but I have a lot of patience with it. But the point there being, the world does change. Peoples do move. That's the story of history, is peoples migrating and moving, often conquering each other, interacting with one another, making new cultures. So that's just going to happen. It's you have to learn how to manage it well. One of the conservatives in the past, he was being funny about our own ideology. He said, "It's the job of the conservative to stand above the society and say stop," and just yell "stop it" stuff. Right?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes that is us. But I like this swing around theory, nature versus human communities, saying we will just hold on to them the way they are, and that's not how life works.
Exactly. And it's not even the way life works in your own families. Like,
Yes.
as you mentioned, I have to preserve this way of life for me and my kids. And, well, those kids are going to grow. You're not getting them fitted for bricks to keep them from growing.
Yes.
And even if you did, that's not how it works either.
Yeah.
Right? So eventually they're going to get into elementary school. They're going to get into middle school. Are you doing recreational sports? Are they getting into music, starting garage bands? Bless your hearts if they're practicing in your garage. But you get what I mean.
You'll manage that.
Right. And they're going to go off to college. They're going to get married. They're going to have their own kids. And you can't do anything to stop it unless you kill them.
Yeah, we don't want you doing that.
Don't do that.
I said it flippantly, but I think I need to say it slower to get the full meaning of what I was trying to say.
Okay.
I just said, that's not how life works. I don't mean that colloquially.
Right.
I mean, that's not how biology works.
Right.
Living things change.
Yes.
For example, if your church organization, your business, for that matter, your marriage, if there's not some changes, adjustments, things are dying when they're not changing a little and adjusting.
Yep.
That does not mean constant churn of major things, but living things, like right now, we're growing at Riverview. That's just going to have to require some change about how you do discipleship. You guys you brought on an entire pastor, your father, because it's changing.
Yep.
The way we do things is just going to have to change a little bit.
Yep.
And
That doesn't mean you change your core principles.
No.
Our core principles here at Resurrection Church have stayed exactly the same from what they were. Now, some of that has shifted as well as our church has grown and matured and become more properly confessional and all that kind of stuff. And so we've kind of solidified who we are, but how we do things may change.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're at 2 services. We don't really want to be at 2 services, but
can't fit people.
But right now with our facilities, we have to.
That's right.
And so that's one of those changes that was kind of born out of necessity, while at the same time that's not changing necessarily who we are and how we conduct ourselves.
I have, because I'm about to be preaching again through my David series, I've been thinking in these terms. I call it kingdom keeping or kingdom securing. And now I'm in full analogy of our post-mill project. Full analogy.
Yep.
So we believe as post-millers that the kingdom of Christ will reign and grow. It's going to take stuff.
Yep.
We, the faithful, are going to go out into the world of engineering and software and maybe even AI and medicine and animal medicine and guitar pedals. We're going to go out into all things, and we're going to governments and criminal justice and take things piece by piece. Now, once we take ground, we have the values that the Lord gives us. They're all scripture. And as new people come into the systems where we're working, we instill those values as more people come in and change, but the values have to stay the same. The ideas have to stay the same because the system's going to change.
Right.
So that's how I keep the kingdom. I keep it. I secure it. As David is literally reigning his kingdom, there's some land he's got to take that he was commanded to take. And as he takes it, expels some. It's not even necessarily that he's expelling the ethnicity. He's expelling the idolatry.
Right.
He's expelling that you guys can't live here because you don't align with what this place is.
Right.
But man, more people might be coming in, and we want more. We want to change as long as the ideas and the core principles stay the same.
Exactly. Like the yes, bring your New York money here.
Sure.
Leave your New York politics up there.
Yeah, and you can even bring
And they typically do.
a lot of times. Yeah, they're escaping something.
Yeah.
I mean, being at a university, the North Greenville you and I went to is not the one that exists now. It's just a very different place, including our not ethnic diversity, but our geographical diversity.
Sure.
We're still about 60% South Carolina, call it 70% Southeast. But if you have a student body of about 2,000 some odd, if 30% of them are from somewhere else, you get a lot of different cultures from around the world and around the country. Our New Yorkers that come down here that communicate a little more bluntly than the Southerners, you can keep that. That's fine.
Yeah.
You kick that. If you have your affinity for gigantic government programs, leave that.
Right.
But if you want to be more blunt, cool. I mean, I'll probably find you rude, but whatever. you can bring that with you. There's parts of your cultures that's great.
Yeah. All right. You had a thought.
Okay. So first, let me commend. I'm asking you a question about that theory. You read a book. You saw a certain ideology. You saw a train of thought. Did this hit you like riding down the road? Were you at a quiet spot? How did this? I'm trying to get people to also have modeled for them. How do I think interesting thoughts instead of just having TikTok and Instagram tell me what to think? How do I come about interesting thoughts?
Right. And it's similar to your rubric that you use on your show of small minds talk about people, medium minds talk about events, and then great minds think about the ideas underneath all of those.
Make up the people in the events.
And so I was listening to this on Audible, and I was driving down the road, and they're going through, this exchange and whatever. Actually, no, I wasn't driving. I was mowing.
Some of the best thinking a man does.
Best thinking.
Absolutely.
And I've got my AirPods in. I'm mowing, and I had to pause it, and I was like, I need to chew on this because this is I'm making a connection here because I've been thinking about horseshoe theory recently, and particularly with command economies and tariffs and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. I see this kerfuffle go on Facebook all the time about people moving to Greer and then other people getting angry about it. And I think, I just connected the dots that way.
I wanted to highlight that just for this reason. We, the post-millers, if we're going to have a lot of impact, are going to have to also be thinkers and philosophers. And we live in a time so saturated by media that thinking and philosophizing is not something we do a ton. I did on the show in the last couple years. I love this part of Proverbs where Solomon is saying, consider the ant. He just always has something to eat. And consider this beast consider the lizard. Consider the lizard. He lives in the palace. Because he's so sneaky. And consider, you don't come to these conclusions about being cunning and how you get in and out of things and how you always prepare unless you are just thinking and allow yourself to do it. So
I could have listened to that book and then just been like, Greta Thunberg's an idiot.
Yes. You could have just went the left. Yeah, get those liberals.
Right. And that would be true.
Yeah.
That's also not the conclusion that Crichton comes to.
Yeah.
The conclusion Crichton properly comes to is, look, we don't have a lot of evidence for this, and we need to look at this harder if you're going to actually make any policy recommendations or policy period about, supposedly rising sea levels and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. He's like, all I'm saying is stop making people freak out about it.
That's great.
That was his main point.
His premise.
And yes, I could have come out of there saying Greta Thunberg's an idiot because she is.
Yes.
And now that she's grown, we can make fun of her.
That's right.
and we should sometimes.
When she's a child, we couldn't do it.
Right. But that only goes so far. Yeah. Make fun of her to get to the principle underneath.
Yes, that's good. Yeah. So as I was thinking about things, I sometimes test my own reactions because my external reactions are often muted.
Yeah,
my internal dialogue is sometimes a little more lively.
Yeah, me too.
And like you mentioned before we started, someone who I guess is kind of in the post-mill world. He's definitely the theonomy world. And am I allowed to say the word you said? I think you called him an asshat. Is that allowed?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't mind saying it in some contexts. Having an internal dialogue sometimes of also saying things like that. Like, I just don't like these people.
Yeah.
They give me a battery. Okay, so I was testing my own mind. Why, for example, these people who are doing big projects, they're trying to do big things,
Yep.
whether I agree with them or not, why am I just generally annoyed by them? And then I thought about actually you for a second, because you once presented to me, you probably recall,
Yes.
what would, in a good way, audacious plan.
Yes.
A 100-year plan for Greer.
Yep.
And I remember going through this.
Which was basically a thought exercise that
Yes.
I went through, thinking about this kind of thing that we're talking about now.
And I think it's because I have a personal affinity for you that I was like, this is awesome. This is great. And then other people want to do big projects, and I get annoyed with them. Often, I think it's often they're just affectation. And I just came to this conclusion. If people are doing big projects that annoy me, and I can't find an absolute error, just straight up an error. I have a difference of opinion, but I can't find error. I shouldn't be angry at them and tear at them. I should just ignore them. They have it owed to them for people like me to just ignore them.
Sure.
You don't have to, like, if someone found it. The guy who bothers Nehemiah when he's building the wall. Is that Sanballat?
Sanballat, and then the one of Doug Wilson's book title is Geshmu.
Okay.
He has a book called Geshmu Saith It.
Okay. And is it Gashmu say it? And what Gashmu is saying is an annoying criticism?
Right. It's these people are saying this, and Gashmu saith it, and that's the only time he's referenced.
He's mentioned,
in the
and that
Bible.
guy is okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if I am in Israel, I'm in Jerusalem, and Nehemiah's rebuilding the wall, and for whatever reason I'm annoyed at him, I at least owe him just to shut up. At least, like, instead of just peppering him, I just, you know what, I'm just going to leave him alone. If he's doing what the Lord is doing, it's going to go well. If it's not going to go well, if he's not doing what the Lord called him to do, the Lord will strike him down.
Right.
Like, this is some Gamaliel logic from Acts 5 or 6. If it's of the Lord, it's going to work. If it's not of the Lord,
maybe you would lay the bricks differently than Nehemiah did.
yeah. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I think I owe it to them to be quiet. But then I did some other introspection. I think it's in part because while I do just generally disagree with some of their big project points and their methods, I think it just has to do with some personal, let's call it personal calling. I don't know if this happened to you when you were young, but when you're on stages a lot, me, in a band, at church, early in my 20s for Southern Wesleyan in North Greenville, and then getting to have a microphone at a very early age.
Yep.
I don't know how good that was for me in my soul. But adults and important people start to say things to you that the Lord's going to do something big's coming for you. Big stuff's coming for you. And I'm talking in my teens and 20s, it never appealed to me. I actually recall, this is a weird thing to recall, 2006, our superintendent of education in South Carolina was the last Democrat to ever win a statewide race. His name was Jim something. He pulled me aside at student legislature. I think he saw my performance, and he was saying, "Man, you're something special. You need to stick with this." And even at 20, I was like, whatever you're saying, I don't want that.
Not just because he was a Democrat.
Not just because of that. It was just, that doesn't appeal to me. And here, this is coming from a guy who was on a lot of stages with a band that never really did it. I mean, we opened for New Song once, or Avalon. Like, this is as big as we ever got. And that was cool with me. And I'm at a church, it's a medium-sized church, and that's cool with me. I want it to grow, but it's fine with me. I have a very middling podcast, and it's just fine with me.
Yeah.
There's something in me that the Lord just says, hey, if you're just be faithful with whatever I give you, you're going to be happy. And I think that's part of it for me is my post-mill project is take whatever I'm responsible for, even if it's small, and be excellent at it. And then, so I think I have that natural bias against those that say, well, what I want to be responsible for is way bigger. Because sometimes that comes across to me as, I think you're a little self-important, but maybe you're not. Maybe you might be a little arrogant, and maybe you're not. That might not be why you're trying to bite off this bigger chunk. So what I'm saying is, I think I owe it to you then to be quiet But also, I would say back to them, hey, could you maybe owe it to some of us, not to make it assume that we're in some kind of sin for not doing stuff like you, or call us, let's just be diplomatic and say not ambitious enough for the kingdom.
Right.
Right. They might call us something else.
I've definitely seen some of that on X, not as much as maybe you've seen.
Yeah, I think the algorithm is designed to insult me because it'll get more reaction from me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, X is designed for that. It's to give you things that you'll engage with.
Yeah. Good or bad.
Yeah.
And, the old journalism adage, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yes.
That's tremendously interesting. So, just to name them, the most immediate in this would be the dudes in Moscow.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that's a project that's been going on for 40 or 50 years.
Right.
And has now gotten to the point where they're getting national media attention. It started, are you familiar with how Christchurch began?
I guess not.
So Doug Wilson did not start as the pastor. He started as the worship leader playing guitar. And the pastor ran off with a woman at one point, and he was just like, I guess we're having church here. But they started meeting at like an auto mechanic shop or something like that. It was part of the 70s kind of Jesus people-y kind of thing, right? And so it was just like, let's just meet here. They just moved into their own building for the first time last year.
In 40-something years.
40-something years. They've been meeting in a high school gym for decades.
Well, like a public high school gym.
I think it's a private high school gym, but point remains,
Got it.
It's still a gym.
Yeah.
And they're a church of a couple thousand people at this point. And so the really interesting thing is they started small and now they've gotten here. That doesn't mean that every small project grows into this enormous metropolis kind of thing, but all of the big projects start small.
Yeah.
If they're done, I think, properly.
Yes. Yeah. When something gets too big too fast, most of the time the character of the people leading it can't bear the heaviness of it.
Yes.
You have to grow slowly if you are to build your character with your responsibility.
Right.
Our church is not thousands of people, and I wonder if one of the reasons is, hey, Cory, you don't have the character for that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what would eventually tempt me to want my name and renown to be bigger.
Right.
Right. I'll give you one more of these in radio where WFA actually brought in a guy, like a consultant guy, and had me sit with him for a bunch of hours. And he gave me my route to like wannabe fame. And I just came out of it and went, none of what he just told me is worth what I would get in the end. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. And I just got to recognize some dudes would have heard that and went, that I want it.
Yep.
That I want that. And maybe their motives weren't bad.
There are guys who are seeing what Moscow guys have done, and they do want that immediately.
Oh yeah, I know.
Right, and
yeah,
I understand the pull to that, particularly with like if you have, let's just say you sell 100,000 books, it's a lot of cash flow, straight up, and I understand the pull toward that because it's getting you to a stable point that you can do a lot of good with.
Sure.
But the small beginnings that the Bible talks about, those really do, like when you have to grow through those things, kind of like what we were talking about with the horseshoe theory.
Yeah.
The small towns growing into something larger because people see the appeal of that.
Yeah.
There is something healthier about that organic type of growth.
Yeah. I will trying to connect everything to postmillennialism and the project that we're on in kingdom building. Try to sort of encourage everybody there.
And also,
please,
real quick, I may have gotten some of those details about Wilson's church wrong. Granted, that's what I recall.
That's what Wikipedia is for.
Yeah, exactly. I do remember that they did start very, very small, and they did just move into that building.
Good for them, and I mean that. So, yeah, you're right. You're in terms of like who annoys me, and so I just want to just ignore it. I just don't want to talk about it anymore. Trying to be an encouragement. Some of you are very ambitious. Mm-hmm. I think you're ambitious. You're an ambitious guy.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't have a lot of ambition, and we're gonna need each other. Mm-hmm. To push and pull on one another. Yep. You'll probably have to push me eventually. I need to probably pull back on you sometimes. Right. We're going to need each other.
And that kind of gets into affectation as well. Yeah. Like I am publicly more sarcastic than you are.
Yes.
You do delve into sarcasm sometimes, but
I usually try to do it only for the purpose of comedy. I'm just trying to get people to laugh because I like it.
sure.
I think you do it sometimes to make a point.
Yes.
You're making a point. And
Yes.
most of the time, my
And
sarcasm.
I'm going to get really sarcastic on a blog I'm planning to write today.
And you know what? I'll probably laugh at it
Yep.
when I listen to it on the podcast feed. I'm trying to also say to those who are not ambitious, don't despise just what you think of as small work.
Yep.
I just did it on my show. Here's the 1-minute version. It occurred to me during this battle between Absalom and David. David needs a piece of intelligence, or the kingdom might falter. Mm-hmm. The piece of intelligence is given to 2 young boys who have to take it to him, and they're hidden in a well by this girl who hides them very well. They're hidden in a well and hides them very well. No, I didn't mean to do it. The kingdom was in part secured by a girl doing a very normal thing, just a very unimpressive thing. Mm-hmm. So don't despise that if that's your role. And then sometimes, you might have a more King David role. And people like me should probably chill out on those that may have more of a King David role.
Yeah, there's, even though he's not post-mill in the slightest, Michael Horton, an Escondido, one of the White Horse Inn guys, he has a very good book called Ordinary, which was written in response to David Platt's Radical, where, what God may have called you to for the next several years is changing diapers.
Yes.
Bringing in the groceries, taking out the trash, mowing the yard.
This is kingdom keeping.
Yeah, that really is kingdom keeping and expansion.
Yes. Your household, being a Christian household, let's call it, it's now part of the kingdom. Mm-hmm. You keep it by folding the laundry and unloading the dishwasher, and not speaking a cross word to your wife because you're a little upset that the Cowboys lost, and not speaking
I usually get a little chuckle when the Cowboys lose myself.
It's not getting impatient with the kids when something goes wrong at work. You're kingdom keeping. And is it spectacular? Will you, like the T.S. Eliot quote, maybe have a grave that goes unvisited? Yeah, probably. And you're going to get your reward in heaven.
Yep.
I'm not living for any way in which I want any generation, I guess, past my 2 nephews to come visit the grave. I just don't. It's probably not going to happen.
Right.
And that's okay with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
For some of you, you want something more. All right. Just be
careful with that. Yeah.
All those who do aspire. I mean, Paul's going to say it to those who aspire the pastorate. You're aspiring a good thing, but there's some caution to that.
Right.
Right. Now, if you're aspiring to something bigger, you want more power, you want more people to know you, just be careful.
That's a good word of caution because, man, like, fame and notoriety are huge temptations for people.
Yes.
Like, even being told I did a good job at a Bible study, like, I should not let that get to my head.
But man, the ego feels good.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks.
I know.
Yes. Like, I taught a class this summer on Wednesday mornings for our middle schoolers and high schoolers. I taught through our confession.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And of course, middle schoolers and high schoolers are much harder to read.
Yeah.
Because some of them wouldn't talk at all. And then they'd go home and tell their parents how much they liked it.
That's awesome.
But our youth minister surprised me after the last one with a gift, and it was our church logo on a vest, and it said Dr. C.J. Fields.
Nice.
I'm not a doctor. I don't hold a doctorate. And he decided that the C.J. with my middle initial just sounded more dead theologian-y.
It sure does.
So,
was it like you personally upholstered?
Yeah, by my mom.
That's pretty cool. That is a good one. Yeah, so that was just like the thoughts I've been having are about quiet faithfulness and then the big spectacular things. Mm-hmm. They don't have to be opposed to one another. We don't have to resent each other.
Yep.
And just remain faithful in those things. Kingdom keeping and kingdom winning happen over a lot of time.
Yep.
And a lot of generations.
Where can people find you?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. That's primarily where you should find me on Sunday mornings at 10:30 at Riverview Baptist Church. And actually, I don't have Truax.com anymore. I did away with it.
No, fair
it's
enough.
just not useful. And anywhere you find podcasts, look for my weird name. Hey, if I was a guitar player and I wanted to have the best sounds coming out of my guitar, where would I go looking for that?
WestminsterEffects.com if you want to buy directly from me. If you want to buy through a dealer, I also have a dealer list there. And you can find that on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok if you hate yourself, as I tell people. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, X, at Cody Fields 864 for X.
And also that green room is fun.
It is.
I never post in there.
Yeah,
but
you never interact anymore.
I
so.
enjoy seeing what I see there, though. It's good.
Yeah, the Westminster Effects Green Room is on Facebook. It's basically a private group where we talk guitar stuff, yes, but we also talk about literally whatever else.
Yeah,
so it
it's
can be theological, it can be political, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a good time.
Cool. Cody, thanks for doing it. I love this
Likewise.
idea.
Yeah, good times.
See you guys.